And good evening, everyone. Thanks all for being here. We have everyone's favorite guest, the Thunderous One. Hello, Lilo Main, Horse, Ower, Dragon, of course, and Rusty Shackleford. So thanks all for being here. Yeah, so Thunderous, say hello. Everyone's missed you.
Hi everybody. Glad to be back on the show. I've certainly been missed my opportunities to come on the show, but that's not due to any interference with Lloyd's work or mine. It's down. It's more, or between us rather. It's more due to me having a heavy schedule, taking on a responsibility for the past few months that has been somewhat of a distraction. But I have more time now, and hopefully, moving forward now as we progress towards the end of the year and going into the new year, Lloyd and myself can get back to some kind of routine of regularly appearing on presentations that could discuss more. So, hi everybody.
Yeah,
I'm glad to
your
be back.
signal is breaking up, Thunderous. I'm getting interference.
Um, Everything seems to be okay on my end. I have
Yeah,
checked.
that's okay. Well, as long as it's streaming all right, it could sometimes. Yeah, yeah. So Horse says, "Wonderful to hear the mellifluous voice of the Thunderous One." Yeah. So, so Thunderous. Yeah, guys, we Thunderous and I have tried to get together many times. For various reasons, there've been cancellations. I know he's had a friend that needed his attention, so he was there for them, and and hopefully that situation is now past, and so Thunderous has had more time, and of course he had personal things, and but Thunderous, so today the floor is yours. I did say the floor was yours to bring up the topics you want to discuss. I know things are interesting in the UK. Things are very interesting in London lately, and everyone's wondering if London is the new capital of Pakistan. So perhaps you can tell us more.
Well, it certainly seems that way when you look at, say, the media and politics and the law and the narrative that we are fed from various channels. And I think, firstly, people of a particular generation may recognize when Salman Rushdie wrote the Satanic Verses. If you had to pinpoint a moment in history where that was your moment to recognize and realize that Islam throughout the world does have an underground structure of links and associations and groups that are all interlinked with each other, not just locally in your local community, but up and down the country and by extension to other parts of the world. And I think Satanic Verses was, if you like, there was your moment to recognize what you're dealing with. And I think that notice went ignored. But now I think that people are the discerning ones who are not, that have not been swollen up by media narratives that are being sold, are now beginning, or perhaps have had their feelings confirmed about what they're dealing with, because it's not, there's been certain things that have built up to where the world is now with the religion of peace. And people are recognizing it, and some people are voicing their opinions, but sadly, those opinions are not being heard as loudly or as openly or as, if like, as frequently as they should be. So, for example, how many people have, I mean, Lloyd, if I was to ask you the question then, have you read the Quran? What would you say?
So I guess just how many people have asked you, have you read the Quran? Sorry?
Oh, no, or how many people have actually read the Quran? I mean, have you read the Quran, Lloyd?
To be honest, I've never read it all the way through. I've read chapters, I've read pieces of it. I just can't read the thing in one go. It's just, I've read it. Few people have, I think. Few people genuinely have read it, and few people have realized really what it's about. I've read tafsir probably more than I've read the Quran. I've read the Sharia thoroughly, but more than I've read the Quran itself. Because I also find it to be a distraction that it hides more than it reveals. It conceals rather than reveals.
Yeah. I think the point I was trying to, I wasn't trying to catch you out,
Mm,
but if you
yeah.
recall, you and I first met around about 2000 and was it 18? We appeared together on the Gin and Tonic show.
Probably before that. I would say I
I
was still
think,
in Dubai at the time, possibly
yeah, possibly before that, but I know,
17, 16, possibly.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. I mentioned in 2018, it is probably a lot earlier than that. So for those who don't know, Lloyd and myself used to appear on another show called the Gin and Tonic Show, where it was a Islamic-based discussion on a weekly basis. And on that show, various topics were picked. But as a byproduct of the show, or one of the features of the show rather, was that we would have regular Quran reading where we were systematically going through the reading of the Quran from the beginning to the end. And then we'll discuss the verses that are on there. Now, for those who have actually read Islam, you'd have to ask one question. How much hate speech do you think is in there?
All of
Particularly
it.
towards...
All
Yeah.
of it.
But if you had to single out a minority where the hatred and vitriol is aimed at, where do you think it's going to?
The Jews.
The Jews, yeah. You would think the idolaters would get the brunt of the venom of Islam, but it's not. It's the Jews. Why do you think, when you've gone through the tafsirs and the Sharia and the components of the Quran that you've read, why do you think the Jews seem to get a hard time from Islam the most?
You know, it's like when you hate the people that stole your land before you got there. You know? So it's like the Jews stole Israel before the Muslims got there to steal it themselves.
Yeah.
You know, so they're kind of jealous about those who came first, those who have the original message. I think that's it.
Yeah.
It undermines their message.
Yeah, it's like the Jews are also very familiar with the Torah. So if there was any person that could look at that, look at their scripture and say that man's not real, it would have been the Jews. So the Jews' rejection of Muhammad is where you can see that it's been handed down from generation to generation in Islam.
Oh, sorry, you make an interesting point. Hold on, I'm going to share my screen on the left here. So last night I tried to do a stream and I forgot that I had a talk scheduled with my members. And by the way, I'm going to do just a subscriber talk as well. I'll arrange one very shortly and I'll invite everybody. And hopefully no crazy people come on and do dumb things. But I did this talk last night and I'm going to repeat it because there was a problem with the stream as well. People had problems with it and I had a problem with it. And I've deleted it and I'll have to do it over again. But notice here, the one of the earliest heresies is Marcion of Sinope. And what is crazy is he was a radical monotheist. He rejected the Old Testament. He said it was corrupt. He rejected parts of the New Testament, saying they were corrupt. Where have you heard that before, Thunderous?
Well, I'm struggling to guess here, but if one book doesn't match with the
Okay, I'm going to give you three guesses: the Baha'i, Eskimos, or Muslims.
Well, can I phone a friend on that one? Well,
Dude,
no,
just hold on. Okay, guys, if Thunderous is going to call a friend, right? So Marcion believed there was only one true deity, okay, and the supreme deity was revealed by Jesus Christ. Now, Muslims believed there was only one true deity and the supreme deity was revealed by him. And then he rejected the Old Testament, portions of the New Testament, and there's other parallels. This idea dates back to the 1st and 2nd centuries.
Yeah. It's a rinse and repeat, isn't it, to be fair?
Yes.
Yeah, so I just found it interesting that when you're looking at the vitriol and the hatred that we're seeing today, it's kind of like it's a continuation of the emotions that Muhammad felt against his audience, which would have been the Jews, who openly rejected him, and rightfully so, because they could see through for the charlatan that he was. I mean, just when you look at the Quran and you're reading certain surahs where it talks about Muhammad is just a repeater of stories, a teller of stories, or we've heard these stories before, and those are aimed at his critics. It kind of shows you the audience that he was playing to. And the reason why I mentioned that the hatred that you find in Islamic literature between the Quran and Hadith is because we're living in a very peculiar time now of freedom of speech, or free speech. That's one of the points being brought up in England about whether these pro-Palestinian marches can go ahead because, free speech, do they have the right? So when you consider the memorial of the past couple of days for those that have died during various wars, the counter argument is that they fought for people to have free speech. Okay, let's go along with that narrative. But then, at what point do you cut off free speech? But obviously, they're talking about when it involves hatred. And if it's going to be something predicated on hatred, Of all the books you've ever come across, Lloyd, which book do you think is the very epitome of hate speech?
No, look, Allah is a God who hates. The Quran is a book on hate speech. You read the hadiths of the it's hate speech and violence. It's incitement to violence, and somehow they've
Yeah.
managed to convince the media that well, not to thoroughly look at the issue and report on it honestly.
But the thing is to see with the media, I mean, when they're talking about free speech and such, well, have you noticed that anybody actually quoted the Quran in these discussions? When you're looking at the vitriol and the hatred and what's the underlying theme in all this, can not anybody see a pattern emerging yet that no matter where you go with reference to people's attitude towards the situation in the Middle East at the moment, that the attitude is a representation of, if you like, Muhammad's hatred of Jews? And the
Yes.
reason why I say this,
Yes. Just
and the
pause
reason
one
why,
moment, please, Thunderous. Just yeah, there have been numerous complaints, and someone contacted me. They're having buffering problems. Yes, yesterday there was a problem. I had to delete that stream. But right now I'm showing zero dropped frames. I'm showing excellent connection. This is in the YouTube studio, and within OBS, my CPU load is 1.4%. I'm doing 30 frames a second. I decided not to do 60, so I'm putting out sufficient bandwidth, and YouTube says excellent. So yeah, lower your resolution to maybe 248, 144, something like that, and then up it back to 1080p. But guys, I hope it's working now because according to this, it started off rough, but you should be fine now. So just refresh, and yeah. So Thunderous, some people are having a problem with. Okay, stop buffering. Okay, thanks, Will. Thunderous, back to you. Sorry about that.
okay, so I don't know where I was there. I was talking about the Jews, weren't I?
Hate
So, yeah,
speech in the
so
Quran, and that
yeah, the hate
the hate
speech in
Muhammad's hatred
us.
of Jews, yeah, is prevalent,
Yeah, so
and this is
and
now.
if yeah, so if you remember when we were speaking in 2018 on the Gin and Tonic show, I think I was one of the first people actually brought up the Muslim situation in China with is it I forget how you pronounce it.
The
Is it
Uyghurs, yeah,
you Uyghurs or the Uyghurs, however it's pronounced. Not many people had commented on that, but when you consider that they were oppressed by the Chinese government, you don't hear of any Muslims crying out and doing protests or marches. And I know, certainly, if not last year or the year before, when we were talking about Saudi Arabia's war with Yemen, and I remember I asked you the question: do you think one of the motives of the war is to destroy all the archaeological evidence of
yes,
Islam's link to paganism? Do you remember?
yeah. In 2015, I mean, an F-16 dropped what, two bombs on the museum in Yemen that housed all of the pagan artifacts that I discussed in monotheism that proved Yemen and southern Arabia's connection to the Babylonian moon gods, the Babylonian moon religion, and that Islam and that whole region came out of paganism.
Yeah, but nobody, even though that war is still ongoing, there's no Muslim outcry, there's no Muslim protests. Then you think about the number of deaths that have been involved in Syria in the past few years. The Russians have been involved, the Americans have been involved, the French have been involved. No
Yeah,
Muslim outcry. You think about Libya is another one. You think about the Iran-Iraq wars and such. So there have been many wars involving Muslims, when it's Muslim on Muslim, or whether it's Western England and America governments against Islam. Yet there's no Muslim out. Well, if there have been, they've been very small and marginal, but not to the extent that we've seen around the world today. Why do you think that? What do you think is the reason why that they have such a problem with this situation now?
it's like when a black guy kills a black guy, it's not news. But if a white guy walks past a black guy that dies 3 months later, it's a racist attack on a black man by a white guy who stood next to him for too long and killed him.
Yeah, There it is, isn't it? That's the point. It's because it involves the Jews. So when it's Muslim on
Mm.
Muslim violence, you don't hear any outcry. When you're hearing, say, Western governments against the religion of Islam, you might hear something, but you don't really hear a great deal. But now that we've got the Jews involved, my word, do we not have an uproar in the media today at the moment? And
Yeah.
just going along with the whole free
But
speech.
that also tells you the depth of anti-Semitism, the depth of, because everyone can see it now that anti-Zionism, which has nothing to do with hating Jews. Let's just be clear, somehow always results in Jews being killed, beaten, and mistreated, which is just a coincidence, just a random side effect, right, Thunderous?
Oh, there. You've just said it. It's just a random side effect, but it boggles the mind that that they've also managed to rope in. So it's not just Muslims that are protesting about this. It's a shame they couldn't protest about all this, the Muslim sex grooming gangs in England as well, where they were systematically raping thousands of young girls, kidnapping girls, raping girls, drugging girls, feeding them alcohol to get them drunk and treating them like whores. No Muslim outcry there, but we have a situation in the Middle East where there's an outcry. And the interesting thing on top of this is you can really sense the Muslim Brotherhood in all of this as well, because
Yes.
um, the Egyptians don't want to take these Palestinians in. The Syrians don't want to take the Palestinians in. The Jordanians don't want to take the Palestinians in. The Saudi Arabians and the Kuwaitis, the Qataris, the United Arab Emirates, the Turkish. None of these they talk about Muslim Brotherhood, but none of the Muslims want them. Why do you
Well,
think that is, Lloyd?
everyone took a lesson from Lebanon because the Lebanese let in what, 4 million Palestinians? And let's just say that didn't go down well, because next thing you had two major civil wars lasting something like 15 years, thousands of people dead, and the country imploding. And
Yeah.
and you've got these ghettos. You had violence, you had terrorism, you had crime, you had uh, murder. You had disruption of the government. And now you have clear terrorist sympathies. You've got, yeah. I think people have realized, and also people don't realize this border with Egypt. It's not that the Egyptians can simply just open the border and allow people to come over, or allow Palestinians to come across, or Fakistinians to come across. Hamas also has to give permission, right? The PA have to give permission. So the Palestinian governments have to give permission for someone to cross. It's not just up to the Egyptians to decide. And they refuse to let them go because Hamas needs them as political pawns. They need them as meat shields for their rocket batteries. They need to bury their artillery under children's hospitals. They need to put their rocket launchers inside of kindergartens because, PR.
Yeah, exactly. I was just going to say it's great. It's great PR. It's great propaganda. It's great propaganda for Hamas. That, and the interesting thing on it is one of the reasons why. And this is. And I wonder if if I can share this opinion with you and get your thoughts on this. Is that when you look at the Muslim countries? I mean, as somebody brought up in the Islamic regime, hatred is one of the things that you're taught to cultivate about anything that's non-Islamic. You hate black. You hate white. You hate the West. You hate idolatry and so on and so forth. So hatred is very much an important component, but it tends to be toned down when you're living in the Western world. But if you look at, say, the whole situation in the Middle East with Palestine, all of your life, and certainly all of my life, every time images have been coming forward from, say, KTD or John Pilger, well, I don't think John Pilger did anything from what I recall, but other news reporters through the BBC and ITV news channels in England from the 70s and the 80s, what you repetitively saw was children throwing stones at Israeli soldiers.
Yes.
So so all you're seeing is children continuously barraging, burning tires, throwing stones at Israeli soldiers. So hatred is something that was cultivated in the mind of these youth from a very early age.
I've seen that. Have you seen the videos? They teach these 3, 4-year-olds. They give them a knife and teach them how to decapitate dolls of Israeli soldiers, how to decapitate dolls of Israeli children and people. I mean, you're teaching a 3, 4-year-old how to cut a head off with a knife, of an Israeli.
and the thing is, if you've been doing it for say 2 or 3 generations, well, those children that you cultivated the hatred into, those now are parents that have got their own children that are, sort of like
Yeah.
replicating that teaching process, that hatred process, into the generation that's come after
So
them.
so so when is the UK government going to declare itself a province of Pakistan?
Well, you think about that. Scotland have already got one Muslim leader, and then in London they've already got a mayor who's a Muslim. So it's only a matter of time before it comes. London, twinned with Lahore. That's only a matter
Yeah,
of
because man,
time.
I see exactly what happened in Lebanon. The Lebanon is it's a beautiful place. It's wonderful people, and I've been there several times. I've been across Hawthorne. Yes, this has started. So hello there, Just Janice, AZ, Damian, and I see James Dalton. There's a few other names: Nathaniel, Paulo Falk, Tony, Black Anti-Colonius massacred thousands of innocent Arabs in Zanzibar, and no one gives a toss. Yeah, in '64. Yeah. But then these innocent Arabs were also they had been slave traders, and that was one of the major slave trading posts or hubs, I believe. So this is revenge for centuries of castration, of sexual abuse, and slavery. Can I just show something, Thunderous?
Sure.
Um, yeah, guys. So it's great to have Thunderous back on, and he and I can finally manage to schedule something. And hopefully we can do this again in a week or so. Before too long. But yeah, so I just want to show you this is the role of the Muslim Brotherhood. You just mentioned them, and there's a document that was captured from the Muslim Brotherhood leadership in America. It was in a secret basement, 80 boxes of documents. Eventually, these documents ended up in court as part of the biggest terrorist funding trial in American history. And this is one of the statements. The process of settlement. This means that when Muslims come and settle in your neighborhood, is a civilization jihadist process with all the word means. The Ikhwan, or the Muslim Brotherhood, must understand that their work in America, and this is not strictly in America only, right? But this was the American chapter that they discovered, is a kind of grand jihad in eliminating and destroying the Western civilization from within and sabotaging. I'm going to share my screen, Thunder. So hold on, just so that you can see what I am doing here. Sorry about that. I just remembered that I should do this so that you can see what I'm showing. Okay, so you should be able to see my screen now, Thunderous. And
Okay.
eliminating the Western civilization from within and sabotaging its miserable house by their hands and the hands of the believers so that it is eliminated. And Allah's religion is made victorious over all other religions. So much for ecumenical peace. Without this level of understanding, we are not up to this challenge and have not prepared ourselves for jihad yet. It is a Muslim's duty, or destiny, to perform jihad and work wherever he is and wherever he lands until the final hour comes. And what they have here is their plan for the infiltration of America. It's a 5-phase plan. They are recognized as being in phase 4 since 2017. Phase 5 is a violent coup. Phase 1 was discreet and secret establishment of elite leadership. This phase has been implemented in America. We have succeeded in achieving a great deal of important goals, such as infiltrating various sectors of the government, gaining religious institutions, embracing senior scholars, which is the academia, gaining public support and sympathy, and establishing a shadow government, secret within the government. This is a legitimate document of the Muslim Brotherhood talking about how they have infiltrated and control American media, American judiciary, American government. Your thoughts, Thunderous, on this?
Well, but it's interesting. But certainly when you're looking at the media, you're not hearing any sort of like response in the way that when you're finding Muslim terrorist attacks, they try to, or with the sex grooming gangs as an example, they don't use the word Muslim, even though 99% of the offenders were Muslim. They try not to put the names in the media because they have Muhammad, and Muhammad seems to be the most common name of all these criminals, is they use the word Asian. So it's kind of removing the identity, or the, if you like, the motive or the background of the person that's committing the crime. So if you put the word Asian, then it becomes like a very nebulous, meaningless word.
Yeah. No, you can't identify the enemy. It's Muslims.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's not the Koreans. right?
No, so yeah, exactly that. And then you find that when other atrocities are taking place, for instance, I think there have been several in France and Germany where a man has gone wielding a knife and stabbing people randomly. And I think these immigrants are doing this as well, that have murdered people, stabbed people, assaulted people
Yeah.
randomly. Shouting Allahu Akbar, but then they're coming across in the media as people that have
You know
mental
what I
issues,
hate
or
is when they say, oh, they were shouting religious slogans. Like, how about you just say they were shouting Allahu Akbar? Let's be honest.
yeah, so they're kind of camouflaging the
But
reality.
just read part three here. Just read part three and part four. Just read these sections here that I've highlighted.
Right, right. The
So I'm
part
just
phase three, escalation phase prior to conflict and confrontation with rules through utilizing mass media currently in progress. Phase four, open public confrontation with the government through exercising the political pressure approach.
do you think they've achieved this in the UK, in France, in
Oh,
Germany, in Belgium, in London?
there's no doubt about that, and one cannot say anything. I mean, this is why you have certain misnomers or portmanteaus or conflations as part of the vernacular. Now, for instance, like Islamophobia, if you criticize, this is where now we're living in a period of time now where truth has become hate speech, telling facts has become intolerance. Having an opinion is bigotry. So the things that we used to have in this world, which was something that people would be proud of, free speech, having an opinion, know where you stand with the person, phrases like he wears his heart on the sleeve, have now become sort of like pejoratives to label a person. So if you have an opinion, if you go against the narrative, currently, then you're basically a hater or a hate monger, or you're a fascist or a racist or a bigot. So
Yeah,
this is where we've gone the opposite way around now, and this is all through this kind of media representation of being critical of an ideology or a lifestyle has now become something offensive to those that are controlling the
yeah.
narrative.
I just want to show everyone something. So this is not only happening in America, but we can see that these anti-Jewish riots by by Hamas supporters are happening unopposed worldwide. They've taken over the media. They've got control. They've got solid control. And so let's see here. Let's look at Huma Abedin. Her full name is Huma Mahmoud Abedin, right? Now, people don't realize that George Bush, his government was infested with Muslim Brotherhood. He opened the door to the Muslim Brotherhood, right? So this is Hillary Clinton, and she was the right-hand man of Hillary Clinton. There was a rumor the two of them were having an affair, right? She was called Hillary Clinton's shadow. Others have called her Clinton's surrogate daughter. She was the vice chair of Hillary Clinton's 2016 campaign, right? She was personal assistant, and she used to answer Hillary's cell phone. She used to carry Hillary's phone around, right? Abedin was the only official channel to Clinton over the past year and has been elevated to the most senior member of Clinton's guard. She's occupying a perch overseeing the campaign, right? And so basically, Abedin lived in Saudi Arabia for 16 years, right? Just 53 miles or 86 kilometers from Mecca. I've been to Jeddah a couple of times, right? Her parents are Indian, Muslim, and Pakistani academics. She's involved with the MSA, which is the earliest front from the 1960s. She was the earliest front. Sorry, that the Muslim Students Association was the earliest front of the Muslim Brotherhood in America, right? So her father was involved here, so with the Muslim Student Association. And Sayyid, right, her father's name just means a Muslim claiming descent from Muhammad. And Abedi is one who serves or worships Allah. Abedin is plural for worshippers of Allah. That's what her surname means, right? She's married to this Jewish guy, crazy enough. Who knows what happened there, okay? She was a special government employee, even though she was part of a private consulting firm, but she was given a secret pass. Notice these Pakistani Awan brothers, right, were given top secret clearance. They copied congressman's data to Huma Abedin's server. So when these Pakistanis stole top secret data from the government, they stole the data, put it on Huma's server, and then from there transferred it to Pakistan. And they donated millions to, charity, just like, yeah. So understand that, and Debbie Wasserman Schultz, oddly enough, failed to fire him after he stole house property and wired nearly $300,000 to Pakistan and was arrested at the airport for bank fraud because who knows why. So yeah, and also notice the Aberdeen family business is owned by the Muslim World League. Saudi Arabia's global organization that promotes Wahhabi Islam, Islamic supremacy, and Sharia law. And oddly enough, the Huma Abedin's father, their business, the family business, shares an office at 46 Guj Street with the Muslim World League. It's the same address. Somehow, the Saudi Arabian government and the office of the Huma Abedin family business are both at exactly the same address. Your thoughts on that, Thunderous?
Well,
And that's in London. That's here in London. Yeah.
Well, it surprises me, that the Arabian petrodollar influence is something that infiltrates universities and the education system as well as the media. You see the evidence of that when you're looking at the media and the education system as it is now. So all of this comes as no surprise. But the interesting thing in all of this as well is that when they're trying to talk about ceasefires and peace in the Middle East, it's not something that I would consider that these organizations would actively want with the Jewish state. One of the motives is when you look at Islamic eschatology, they see a point in time in the future where rocks and trees will be crying out saying, "Come, Muslim, there's a Jew
Yeah.
hiding behind me, kill him." So they can't invest in any kind of peaceful resolution with the nation of Israel when in their own eschatology there's going to be a point where Muslims are going to be going slaughtering Jews anyway, because it's part of their deen, or it will be a part of their deen in the future. So actively trying to pursue peace with Israel would be actually going against what Allah requires of them.
Correct. I mean, Allah requires that to bring the end times, they have to kill all the Jews so that they can, bring Muhammad back. So all the Jews have to die for that to happen.
Yeah.
And people don't want to discuss the fact that that's part of their religious beliefs.
Well, this is the point. This is where where the media and the education system are failing the public because they're suppressing what they know the texts involve or imply. So this is why the language is being toned down, so as to not create, if you like, a schism. But the schism is already there. People, people are glossing over it, but human beings fundamentally aren't stupid. We can be silly, we can be naive, or we can be gullible, but fundamentally we're not stupid creatures. So the narrative is there, but I think for many people now, people are walking away from the narrative because there's too much of Islam in Europe, and people can see that the issues that they've got with Islam are not the same issues that they've got with Sikhs or with Hindus or with Jews or with atheists, agnostics, or any other kind of belief system. It only comes with Islam. And no matter where Islam is manifest, it's exactly the same schism, it's exactly the same friction, it's exactly the same problems, wherever it is manifest. So it's interesting that it's one religion with the same pattern wherever it goes.
Right.
And also, so you can go to Australia, you've got these problems in New Zealand, you've got them in Africa, obviously you've got them in the Middle East, you've got them in France, you've got them in the rape capital of Europe, which is Sweden, through Islamic immigration, you've got them in England, you're finding them in America now. And like you said, their involvement in politics, because Islam is fundamentally a political ideology as well. So everything that you're talking about there about getting involved in politics and sort of like undermining from within, this is the evidence of this.
I mean, look, the biggest donor possibly to Hillary Clinton at the time, $25 million from Saudi Arabia. And also, 20% of her election campaign was funded by the Saudis. So what was she promising to the Saudis for that kind of money? And
immunity.
Yeah, so there's a lot of oddities there that we are unfamiliar with, that questions that need asking. And I mean, Sweden has become the most dangerous country in Europe, from the safest country in the world, basically, to the most dangerous country in Europe after in 2015 opening up their doors to mass Muslim immigration, and now they're planning to deport at least 30% of these immigrants.
The thing is, for people to understand what's taking place here, one has to look at certain countries. Let's just look at England as an example. I mean, female genital mutilation is now part of the common narrative for women as an issue in this country. But okay, we can put that aside.
Well, Huma Abedin's mother wrote a book about it, supporting it.
Sorry?
Huma Abedin's, let me just show it here. I mentioned it. So, Saleha Abedin, meaning virtuous woman who worships Allah, is a leading Sharia activist. This is her with Hillary Clinton. This is Huma Abedin's mom here and Hillary
Hmm.
Clinton there. And she published a book called Women in Islam. She supports the death penalty for leaving Islam, the
Hmm.
legal subordination of women under Sharia, and the participation of women in violent jihad. Her book discusses the merits of sexual submissiveness, child marriage, lashings and stonings for adulterous women, and even the circumcision of girls. Hillary Clinton has flown to meet with Sahela Abedin many times.
Yeah, but Hillary Clinton is also a very good fan of Margaret Sanger as well. So
Yep, and other
anything
communist
that works
causes,
in
yeah.
opposition, anybody that works in opposition to women and women's rights and children's rights, yeah, Hillary Clinton seems to be on the side of. But the interesting thing with what you've just said there is the circumcision of women. Well, that's common. The In England, for instance, the definition of kidnappings now had to be changed because of the number of women or girls rather that were taken or under the guise of going abroad as on a holiday, were actually being taken by their family, not on a holiday, but actually to go and get married to without them realizing. So the definitions of kidnapping have had to be changed in this country, yet again from the Islamic religion. Then we have
Wow.
honor killings. Honor killings as well. So honor killings is now a common thing that we hear about. And what religion kills their daughters because the daughters are going in a direction that the family don't want because of pride and respect in the community? It's the Islamic religion again. So we don't find these kind of influences in the community from, say, Christianity, Sikhism, or Judaism, whatever. But we do find it with Islam all the time. And this goes back to the point I'm trying to make earlier that. People are not stupid. They're beginning to see that this is a toxic ideology that is making itself manifest and gaining power through the very means that you're talking about, through the education system and through media, through investment in politics. So, yeah, so the things that we're seeing in the media today with Islam, they shouldn't really come as a surprise for those that are discerning.
Actually, I'm just going to go here to honor killings and just bring this up. Honor killing, for those who aren't familiar with the Islamic law, the Muslim law, the Sharia, this is from, this is book N, book O, Justice. Yeah, this is from book O, section O 2.0, Justice. And this is about a Muslim for killing a non-Muslim. There is no penalty, right? So what it's saying is the following are not subject to retaliation. So there is no legal or private retaliation. In other words, there's no violence towards, and there is no legal action towards a Muslim for killing a non-Muslim. This is legal under Islamic law. Nor is there retaliation for killing an apostate from Islam. This is without consequences. And notice here, a father or mother or their fathers or mothers for killing their offspring or their offspring's offspring. So, in other words, it is perfectly legal for a Muslim father, mother, grandfather, grandmother to kill their children or their grandchildren if they believe they've brought shame on the family by violating the Sharia. This is officially within the Sharia law of Islam. Which is why, also, by the way, do you know, Thunderous, that I invited Paul Williams as well as MENJ, the Muslim apologist, and in fact, I made an open public offer to any Muslim apologist to sit down with me and read through and discuss the Sharia publicly, openly, transparently. Not a debate, not an angry discussion, not an angry sort of debate about this, but they've claimed that we have nothing to fear from the Sharia. So I said, well, let's sit down, just read through it, read the sections that concern people, and let's have the books and what's written in them speak for themselves. Both of them have been very silent, and so nobody has accepted. I've made a public offer. It's been weeks now. And in fact, Menge rejected the offer or the idea months ago. So, but I've made it official now. I've formally invited them, and they've both said nothing. And I'm happy to have a public, open, transparent, honest discussion. Let's just read it, see what it says, see that because we have nothing to fear, then there should be nothing to fear in reading this stuff. Your thoughts on that, Thunderous?
I think the only person that's going to turn up for that debate will be Nadir Ahmed,
Why would he show up for that?
because he'll just turn up for any debate and then turn around and say wacky, quacky interpretation of the Sharia and
Yeah, but I didn't ask
reliance
for a
on.
debate. I did not, at no point, at no time. And here's a pet peeve of mine. Every time I say, let's have a talk, a discussion, let us just read what's in it and discuss it, and you give me your interpretation. Every Christian who's been supremely well indoctrinated by Muslims to think exactly as the Muslim has trained them to do goes, yeah, these debates, right? We need to have a debate. You need to debate. Yeah, Lloyd, in the debate. No, at no point did I mention a debate. At no point did I invite a debate. At no point did I infer a debate. Did I assume a debate? I only ever rejected a debate. I said, let's have a discussion. And everybody goes straight to debate because debate favors Muslims. They have a method of debate that favors them called adab al-jadal, which is a method of using sophistry and rhetoric. So
Yeah.
this is a problem for me because everybody does this and it annoys the living daylights out of me because at no point, because debates are useless, they go in circles. Let's just read it, let people make up their own minds. And then everyone says, yeah, Lloyd, you need to debate them. And then I go, yeah, you've been indoctrinated by the Muslims, you've bought the Kool-Aid, you've drunk the Kool-Aid, you are part of the problem at this point. Excuse my rant there, but that's really my thinking.
Lloyd, I'm going to turn around and say to you, that's exactly my stand as well. I mean, I've had a couple of opportunities to have a debate, but it wasn't a debate that I wanted, because from my point of view, I don't really need to debate. When it's in black and white and you want to have a discussion on something, the text is there. There's nothing really to go beyond. You just discuss the points that are raised in the text. For instance, where just on the killing of apostates, people who leave Islam, it doesn't require a debate. The texts are quite clear. Muhammad made it clear when he said, if a man leaves his religion, kill him. What is there to debate on that sentence or that statement or that requirement? It's simple as black and white. You either kill him or you don't. But Muhammad is saying kill him. So where's the debate in all of this? So you can argue as to what the requirements are, but the requirements are not even there. I think it was Ali Diarrhea that made a comment under a caliphate. We don't kill randomly. I think the comment was, we don't kill willy-nilly or randomly. It has to be done under a but that's not a requirement from Allah. It's not even a requirement from Muhammad. It's quite clear. If a man leaves his religion, kill him. Now, looking at what it says here, a father and a mother can kill their offspring. Well, if a son or a daughter decides to leave Islam, there is no going to an emir. That is the father's and mother's requirements. It's a prerequisite of Islam to kill their children because of the shame and dishonor it's going to bring not just the community but the ummah as well. So,
yeah, I'm going to try and bring up the other section on Ridda, so just that everyone can see that. But just for the audience, I mean, this is apostasy from Islam, Ridda. Okay.
That was the first war after the death of Muhammad, wasn't it? The Ridda Wars?
Yes, correct. This is the definition of Ridda in the Book of Justice, section O, 8.1. Just read that, Thunderous, in your beautiful, mellifluous London accent, or whatever it is.
When a person who has reached puberty and is sane voluntarily apostatizes from Islam, he deserves to be killed.
Did I make that up? Or is that just written on the page?
There it is. That's the point I'm trying to make. It's in black and white. There's nothing ambiguous about it. There's no need for it to be interpreted. It doesn't have to be where you need to read in Arabic or you need to read in traditional Arabic. There's no requirement here.
Yeah, well, Villainous says, even in a discussion, they will obfuscate on the meaning. For example, it doesn't mean kill apostates. That is only if there is a full caliphate. I would invite them to show me where it says that in the book. I would invite them to show me, and I'd maybe show them a couple of laws that say exactly the opposite to that. But, you see, the thing is, you're not going to convince the liar. Liars lie. Let's just accept that. Right? The aim is that the public will get to make up their mind. You are the public. You are reading this. What do you get from this? Do you see anything that says, if there is a full caliphate? Because I don't see that line anyway.
And the thing is, you see, it says there, if a person has reached, they'll even turn around and say things like, well, if he starts spreading his apostasy to other people, that's not even there as well. It says if he leaves this Islam, it's not that he's left it and then he's telling other people to leave it. It's just that his actions alone require him to be executed. But I suppose what they're trying to say is that if he's left it, then by implication is your actions have defined it to other people, that you no longer accept Muhammad as your prophet and Allah as your God. So that is a statement in itself. So in a very loose way, they're taking the actions of a person as a statement, though by definition it is, but they're implying it as if it's trying to spread it in a very proactive way, this apostasy in a proactive way to the rest of the ummah or the local community.
What does this say here? What does this say?
Ask him to repent
Yeah, and
and
then?
return and return to Islam. If he does, he is accepted from him. But if he refuses, he is immediately killed.
Yep.
So the thing is, where is this in the media today? We all know it's there. We all
Yeah.
know it's there, but they don't want to talk about this in the media today. There is no indemnity for killing an apostate or an expiation, since it is killing someone who deserves to die. Notice the language here. You think about the lengths that the God of the Bible has gone to redeem mankind. You think of the love and the lengths that the
Yeah.
God of the Bible has redeemed mankind. Yet this is allegedly the same God, and look how he is talking here. Look how his representatives are talking here. We all know where this has come from Muhammad. And Muhammad basically said, if a man leaves his religion, kill him. Allah
Yes.
selected Muhammad to be his prophet. So when they're talking about the Bible being corrupted, look how extensive the corruption has to be to get from where we are with what the Bible says to where we are with what the Quran says. How
Hmm.
on earth can you consider the Bible to be corrupted? No way on earth.
Yeah. And that those views go back to the second century. I mean, they go back such a long way. The bad ideas just don't die. They just keep coming back.
Yeah. Notice what it says there. It says to revile Allah and his messenger. I will even challenge that statement, because when you look at the vitriol that you're hearing in the media today from the Muslim community, you never really hear these kind of uprisings take place when it's Allah that's being offended, or when it's Allah that's being assaulted, or when it's Allah that's being maligned. All of these uprisings come from two things: when Israel are involved, not when it's Muslim on Muslim violence, not when it's Western governments on Muslims, but when Jews are involved in the violence on Muslims, and also when Muhammad's messenger is offended. For instance, if you're in Sudan and you name a teddy bear Muhammad, blood has to be spilled. If you're in
Oh my
Nigeria,
golly.
do you remember? And or when in Nigeria, when they had the Miss World competition there, one comment was made about, well, Muhammad would have had one of these women as a wife. Then there was mass riots and 18 people died. Charlie Hebdo. Um, do you see? It's ongoing. Whenever Muhammad, I mean, there's been a recent decapitations in France of a French teacher over the freedom of speech there. Then so then there was it certain shootings and stabbing that took place in Sweden over fitna. I forget the names of the people that were murdered, but it's not when Allah was maligned or offended. It was when Muhammad
Muhammad
was
was. Yeah.
maligned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually
So
Muhammad. Actually.
I would challenge that statement to revile Allah, because they have to put Allah there. Otherwise, it will seem like idolatry. But we all know you can offend Allah to your heart's content. Nobody would say anything. You offend Muhammad, blood has to be spilled.
Yeah. For those who are new here, I'm going to just show them something. This is the summary of the unsheathed sword against the one who insults the messenger. This is the main cover here. The unsheathed sword against the one who insults the messenger. And it says here, let's just read what this book is about. The first issue: whoever insults the Prophet is to be killed, whether they are Muslim or a disbeliever. Killing is prescribed on him, the one who insults Muhammad, and it is not permissible to imprison or show favor to him or to ransom him. Any Muslim or non-Muslim who insults the Prophet is to be killed, and repentance is not sought. Did you see Allah mentioned in any of these rulings? Because this is the
Yeah,
official set of rulings on insulting Muhammad.
exactly my point, Lloyd. Thank you. We were talking just before we came on air
Yeah.
about the way your mind works and how you process things. And here's a typical example of me mentioning something and then you just bringing it to light like
Yeah.
this. Well,
So the
yeah,
contents of this book concern the Islamic ruling upon those who insult the final prophet and Muhammad. Now, what is the definition for insulting Muhammad? Well, the definition for insulting Muhammad is that you don't believe Muhammad was perfect, right? So, so that is the final definition. So basically, this is the general view of all the scholars, right? And it says here that, okay, the Muslims have unanimous agreement upon killing whoever insults the Prophet. It is the ruling that whoever insults other than him is to be lashed. So if you insult Allah, you get a lashing. Say something bad about Momo, who's not Allah, who you die. This consensus is taken from the Tabi'un and the companions, and it says here, there's consensus upon the obligation of killing such a person. The Muslims have consensus that whoever insults Allah, or insults his messenger, or rejects anything from what has been revealed by Allah, such a person is a disbeliever. I do not know of anyone who differed concerning the obligation of killing such a person. And scholars have consensus that whoever insults the messenger, attributing a defect to him, such a person is a disbeliever. And there is no difference of opinion narrated from him concerning the killing. And in fact, they call this the political killing. At one point, they actually named this here. You can see here. They call this the political killing. So, in other words, and the Imam can order a political hit. So, Islam says these are political assassinations, and the Imam can order this. It is for the
Wow.
Imam to give discretionary punishment with killing.
And this was taking place while Muhammad was alive, because we know how many people Muhammad had executed for being his critics.
Yeah. Guys,
So
please
we're
reduce
seeing
your
a big-
resolution to like 480p or something to do the buffering. YouTube just doesn't like me. That happens. This is a controversial subject, so YouTube does this to me. Yeah, sorry, Thunderous, go on.
Now, I was just going to say that Muhammad, while he was alive, had critics of his killed. So what you're seeing is
Yep.
an extension of that pattern that was already implemented by Muhammad himself. And the interesting thing is, in talking about what's going on today with reference to Palestine and how the narrative is being affected, and how people have had their thinking warped into supporting an ideology, particularly when you look at it from the LGBTQI drag maps.
LGBTQFU sort of, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, those are the ones. French Connection, United Kingdom people, the
Yes.
letter abbreviation salad. It's interesting that those are the very ones supporting the narrative as far as Israel is concerned, as far as Palestine is concerned. Yet they're going to be the ones that are the victims in those lands where Islam is manifest. And the irony is that outside of San Francisco and Brighton, I think one of the major capitals for the celebration of the LGBTQI drag maps lifestyle is actually Tel Aviv. So I don't
Yeah.
understand why are they supporting an ideology that wants them to be thrown off mountains against a country that actually celebrates their lifestyle and is one of the capitals of the world for the celebration of it. And just going on with what they were saying about killing political killings, well, we're seeing freedom of speech being killed politically because now you have such things being implemented as blasphemy laws.
Yep.
Where you can't criticize. And that hasn't come about from Christianity or Judaism or Hinduism or Taoism, Sikhism, or any other ism and schism. It's only been brought about via Islam. So when we go back to the point that you made earlier in the discussion about the investments of Saudi oil money influencing politics, you can see there that they don't want their religion criticized
Hmm.
openly. And this is where the media and the education system are complicit in censoring any objection or criticism of this religion.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, true. Guys, by the way, I don't monetize any of my videos, so YouTube probably is a little upset with me because it doesn't earn any ad revenues. I hate ads. You probably hate ads, and right now I can't even run YouTube because you are using an ad blocker, and we don't allow YouTube to run unless you remove your ad blocker. And I hate YouTube ads, so I don't want to see them. So I just view my YouTube now in anonymous mode in my browser without being logged in. So there's no ads on my channel. So yeah, so I don't earn any money on my views. And so yeah, if you guys would like to support the channel, the links are in the description usually. And also I've published 60 videos in the last 2 weeks. Yeah, I've put out a great deal of material. So please have a look through that. And the vast majority of those are coupled with an article on my coffee page. There's a link there that just Lilo Main just put up a coffee page. In fact, I'll link that in a minute. I'll pin that. So yeah, yeah. Thunder, sorry to go on. I just want to. I mean, this is so. Tell me, I have a question, Thunderous. What is going to happen in London? Because there was a time that the Danes invaded England and they conquered and they persecuted and terribly treated the locals, the English. And what happened was eventually they weakened and the English rose up and slaughtered them to such a degree that there's barely any trace of the DNA in the English ancestry. They wiped them out. Now, do you see civil war coming?
No, I don't. I don't see. I think it could look like something like that's coming, but we're living in a generation now where men are not men anymore. They've been feminized. So the generation of real men, so to speak, if you want to use such a term, are probably too old to fight. Now, and the younger generation of men have been so politically censored that they're not masculine men anymore. You know, you can see it in sports now that, as the phrase goes, they're just big girls' blouses now. They're not, you know, masculine in any way. And a lot of other people, they've been too brainwashed into going back to language that they don't have. They may have an opinion, but they're too scared to voice that opinion because of being censored or being branded with a pejorative.
Well, the police
So
work for them now, right? You say something bad in a tweet or Facebook, the police will come and arrest you in London
well,
or the UK.
yeah, using and yeah, because if you say, for instance, misgender a person, you'll get arrested. If we had this discussion just a moment ago before we came on air, where you commented and reminded me about the people silently praying outside abortion clinics. Silently, that's in their head. No one can hear what they're saying. They get arrested. If you're saying something negative, I mean, one school teacher in Ireland was arrested because he used the wrong gender pronoun and was put in prison for 2 weeks. You know, you can give a child a right in Scotland now to choose their sex without parental consent. 10-year-olds can have hormone suppressants and a 16-year-old can have a double mastectomy. All of these things can happen without parental consent. But you cannot say anything. You cannot take the Quran, open the Quran, show to people in public the Quran where it says, if you're a Jew, basically non-Muslims are the worst of creatures. Yeah, that is hate speech. It's the very definition of hate speech when the god of a religion or an ideology turns around and says that you are worse than the dung beetle. And when you consider how low pigs are in Islam, you're actually worse than a pig. Or where Allah turns certain Jews into monkeys and apes. Or, you know, so the hate speech is there for everyone to read. But somehow you say anything about bringing these truths to light, you will be arrested alongside the person that's silently praying outside an abortion clinic, or somebody that uses the wrong gender pronoun. You're going to be arrested for those crimes. But to go marching down the street shouting Allahu Akbar and from the river to the sea, which is basically, but by definition, the wiping out of the whole Jewish religion, with an ideology that turns around and says at some point in the future, because we've got to maintain the hatred, because at some point in the future, we Muslims will be shouting, oi, or some trees and rocks will be shouting out to the Muslims, oi, there's a Jew hiding behind you, come around here and kill him.
Yeah.
But
You know, I just think that, you know, I mean, if there's one thing Europe's been good at when it comes to wars, it's killing people on an industrial scale. You know, that's something we can rely on in Europe. And and it's not something that I necessarily want to see happen. I mean, that would be unfortunate, but if you push them till their backs are against the wall, Europeans have been shown they're very efficient at wiping out other people. And I'm just thinking, you know, you're going to keep pushing, and at some point, that fighting spirit might just come roaring back. You know.
I think it depends on your view on biblical eschatology on that. From what I read in the Bible, I don't think anything like that's coming. I think we're all heading towards something, because this is just one thing of many things, perhaps a discussion for another time. But this is one thing of many other things that are happening on the peripheral at the moment. And one could probably argue that this whole situation with the Middle East is just an interesting distraction from other things that are taking place as far as the world scene is concerned.
Yeah, I'm just
But
curious. So, last question, because I want to sort of wind down. We've been an hour, and maybe we can do this again on Saturday next week. Would be great. But I have a question. I mean, do you see that there's a pushback against woke? People have had enough. Parents have had enough with the abuse of their children, the mental abuse, the secret goings on at schools. You know, don't tell your parents, which used to be a sign of that's a pedophile, but now it's just a teacher talking to a kid. You know, do you think this is? Do
I
you think we're
think
seeing a turnaround? Are we seeing
I
a
think
pushback?
I don't think you're seeing the pushback. What I hear, because there's nothing manifest as far as literal pushback is concerned. What you're hearing is voices, and I think that there are some people are very articulate and smart enough to say the right thing, in order to make other people think that the voices are being heard. I don't think there's going to be a change in that narrative. I think the milk has come out of the udder. There's no way of putting the milk back. It's out now. There's no way of putting it back. And there could the only pushback that would happen would be in some kind of anecdotal reference. Somebody will say something in order to win some clickbait, or maybe just say the obvious things. But as far as legally establishing is concerned, no, because they're already talking about things like what was it that alarmed me? I think it's in Canada now, where they're talking about euthanasia for people that have got with mental illness problems.
Yeah. Or
Now,
just for people who they think are useless, right? I mean,
well,
this is a destruction of the Imago Dei, because everyone has value. In Canada, it's like, you're depressed, you're not useful, you're useless to society, you cost us money, go kill yourself.
yes, this all started as an
Yeah.
example with an interview I once saw with Bill Gates, where he was talking about what was known as the hospital death panel, where if you have to spend say £100,000 to keep somebody alive for 3 months, is that a good £100,000 to spend when you could have employed a doctor for say 4 years? But you're not supposed to have those kind of discussions. So it's an escalation of the same theme. These sort of things. So going back to your point about whether do I see a pushback, I think there will be no pushback. It will be just spoken about, but there won't be one. People will
That's
just say the right
pretty.
things in the media because. Sorry.
Well, that would be very sad. I mean, I'm sure at some point something is going to. Everyone's having buffering problems. Maybe Thunderous, we should try this again next week. What do you think? Because I want to sort of call it after an hour.
Yeah, sure. I'll
Yeah,
meet
but this was.
just
Yeah. Say again, please, Thunderous.
I was just going to say no. I'd love to come back. I'd like to be part of our routine that we used to have once upon a time. Now that the issues that I've been resolving for other people have now finally or on the way to being resolved, so that's given me time. I need to freshen up and brushen up and smarten up and toughen up and
Yeah.
the things that I used to enjoy
Yeah,
doing
because we were
previously.
planning to do various talks, so maybe we can
Yes.
kick another one off in a week. What do you think? We
Yeah,
can.
absolutely. And I don't know if the audience remembers this. I remember the last time I came on your show, I did ask if the audience would like us, you and I, to come together, say something like the first Sunday of every month, and just have a live questions and answers discussion, if you like, where people can point any questions out that they want with reference to Darwinian evolution, atheism, and Islam.
Yeah, true.
And
Yeah.
then we can,
So,
see what their
how
thoughts
about
are.
next Saturday or something like that? Saturday evening. How are you set for that? Saturday or Sunday?
Saturday evening, I would prefer Sunday, if
Sunday.
that's
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So Sunday. So maybe let's do Sunday around a similar time.
Yes.
We'll plan it in advance, and we can do that. So we'll discuss atheism, and yeah, because that's something you know very well. You have an interesting perspective, and also Khadija and some Islamic issues.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys. Yeah, it's been a long day for me. Also, I've had, and but yeah. So Thunderous, we call it a day, but we meet in a week today.
Yes,
All
absolutely.
right.
And I would like to, just before I go, I would just like to thank everybody in the audience for their kind words, their involvement, and I'm glad to be back streaming again. And thank you, Lloyd, yourself, for all the hard work that you put into all the material that you cover, the resources that you provide people, and thank you for inviting me back on your show.
Pleasure having you back. Everyone's been asking, where's Thunderous? We love Thunderous. Where did you bury Thunderous, Lloyd? If you don't produce Thunderous, we're going to charge you with murder. So I was like, okay, fine. I guess I need to prove that you're not dead. So,
Yeah, I'm still alive, full of life, fire, zeal, and sex appeal.
yeah, and this is a pre-scripted AI that I have running in the background. So
Yeah.
yeah, guys, we'll call it a night. Thank you all very much. I have a live stream tomorrow. I'll be doing the next part 4 of my theological discussion and theological. Hold on, what am I going to be talking about tomorrow? Um, so yeah, the title for that one is um, we'll be doing John 14 verse 6. We'll be doing propositional logic, the catena aurea, and the trivium, if I get to the trivium. Probably not, but also John 14.6. So basically, we'll be discussing Bible exegesis, utilizing propositional logic, using the scholastic method so that we can learn and understand how reason and faith merge together. So how that our faith is grounded in reason and our reason is led by faith. So that's the thing. So we're going to learn proper exegesis that's not based on voices in your head, feelings, but actual historical, practical legitimate understanding. So yeah, at least what the scholars who came before and the fathers who came before. So don't use the word PD. Yeah, Yeah, of course that's a minor. Yeah, yeah, they're now called maps, minor attracted PDF files. So yeah, we should call it a night. Thunderous, last word to you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Yeah, thank you, and thank you. No, more importantly, thank you to you, Lloyd.
No, you're very welcome. Great to have you as a guest back on. Everyone loves you. Everyone really enjoys your presence on the channel. So everyone's been asking where you were. So good to be with you. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Good night. And yes, pigs can fly. I can see your comment. So everyone, good night. God bless. Thanks all for being here. Good night.